Well, the Third Laguna Hills Mutual Board met yesterday. It was their regularly scheduled meeting. They meet on the third Tuesday of each month at 9:30 in the morning in the boardroom. And joining us now is the president of Third Laguna Hills Mutual. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here, Paul.
You bet. You actually got that meeting done about an hour less than last month, but it was still almost 3 hours long this month.
Thank you.
Didn't want to start off that way, but like you said, it's progress, right?
It was progress after 3 hours and 44 minutes in August.
Right.
But we're still envious of United. They finished their meeting in 2 hours and 44 minutes.
Right.
2 hours and 29 minutes. So that's
Okay.
right. It was just under two and a half hours.
Yeah, that's usually about, I would say about the average sometimes. It depends on what topics are going around the community at the time.
Topics may determine it to some point. I would say personnel has
Right.
a bigger effect on how quickly things move.
Right. Well, let's talk about your members. They had comments there at the beginning, so there's a couple items you'd like to touch on.
Yes, there was a gentleman that gave a very astute presentation about the electricity costs going up, even though based on our monthly financial, our electricity costs for the mutual has declined surprisingly. It's below budget. But his presentations revolved around solar and the fact that our three-story buildings in Third Mutual would be prime candidates for solar on the roof.
Right.
And would cut costs. There was also a presentation made by a lovely young lady who is an advocate of recycling and cutting costs as a result. We have blue bins that have been brought into our community for recycling, and we have permission to do mixed, that is newspaper in those blue bins, and yet we still have the black bins sitting there that are not being filled, and yet we're paying to have them emptied every month. So we need to get rid of those black bins and reduce our costs. And then the third gentleman got up and was demanding more information on GRF's tax status change from a 501c nonprofit. Unfortunately, that was an IRS decision. It was nothing to do with wrongdoing, any changes that GRF has made. The change in tax status will certainly change their tax base and affect us on a trickle-down status, but there was no crime committed.
Right. And that's something I hope you would bring up at the Golden Rain Foundation board as well. So
absolutely, he is a regular at those meetings, and I'm sure he will continue his crusade to get more information.
Right. Now, we also have a first ever set of rules for board meetings. We posted it here on Channel 6, and you've had this discussion as well within your board and out to your membership.
It's unfortunate that, well, not unfortunate because it's not dead, it's been postponed, and a group on the board is taking issue with certain elements of it, not overall. And one of the most controversial elements is changing the tradition of how we do the agenda prep. It's been an open meeting, a meeting of the whole. Members are welcome to attend, and that would change under the new meeting rules, where the chair, the president, would create the agenda, and members of the board would petition in writing anything that they wanted. It really expands the ability to put items on the agenda, because there is a provision in the new meeting rules where members from the community may petition to have agendas put on.
Put items on the agenda
Put
as well.
items on the agenda, thank you. Tongue gets twisted up, I guess.
Yeah, so that's a very interesting change in the process if it was to go forward then.
Well, part of the goal is to reduce the number of meetings of the whole, reduce the number of hours that a director has to devote to their office on the board.
Right.
And why, again, elements on the board who choose to take issue with that particular meeting when all of their freedoms have not been, it's just a change in the process. They haven't restricted anybody's freedom. In fact, it's been expanded.
Well, that's going to be obviously a hot topic, I think, for a couple of months now. We'll see how the board handles that.
Well, there are some changes coming to the board, and it may change how we approach the meeting rules.
Right.
So,
Speaking of change, you also have another issue that's called non-emergency chargeable services. This is a policy which has changed dramatically too in the last few months.
well, it's a policy that we've never had in a formal way. When people contest their charges for non-emergency chargeable services, that is changing lights. There are the most controversial facet of changing that's supplied by our agent is original equipment. So if you still have the original faucets, we'll change them. But if you're not satisfied with the charge, this formalizes the process that you go through, where up until this was written and until it's put into effect, that process has not been formal. It's been haphazard. It's you come and petition a committee on the board called the Resident Problem Resolution Committee. If you're still unhappy, the next step is to do a meet and confer. Staff and board members need to attend.
Right.
This puts things in writing and gives the process structure.
And it still doesn't deter the member from going outside and hiring a contractor or an outside vendor to provide services as well, right?
Absolutely
Right.
does not.
Right.
This is an optional service that the staff provides. It is not a mandatory in any way. I've never been asked that question before.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have the 2013 business plan, and that was approved as well. Almost a 5% increase, which may seem like a lot if you're new to our membership and new to the community, but in the last few years, that number has been pretty much flatlined. So it's almost a little bit of catch-up here for the last few years.
It is, if over the last 4 years, if we had made an increase every year of, say, 1%, then this year we would only be faced with a 1%. And the boards over the last 4 years have forced the budget, certain elements of the budget down, and in some cases not very wise in their decision. Is it logical that we will force residents to reduce water consumption by reducing the budget? Hello. How do they come together?
Right.
And my favorite is, when are you going to convince senior citizens to take shorter showers, to take fewer showers,
Right.
to not wash your dishes as often, water consumption?
Right.
It's a toughie,
Right.
but it's necessary. Davis Sterling is the driving force, and the Davis Sterling forces us, for instance, to keep our reserves going.
At a certain level,
It's a-
sure.
Yeah, it's a 30-year plan, and we're complying with that 30-year plan and paying for it.
Right. Well, before we let you go, we want to be sure and remind the membership that we have the annual election that'll be coming up as well, and you'll be a part of that. So this is the 42nd annual meeting of the membership of Third Laguna Hills Mutual.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
It is.
And we're the Johnny-come-latelys. The United is even older.
Wow. Okay, so you'll be meeting in Clubhouse 5. That's going to be on October 4th. The meeting does start at 9:30, your usual time, but it's more like a town hall kind of forum in regards to being at Clubhouse 5. You encourage all your members to be a part of that meeting and be a part of the election process. Ballots are going out the 1st of September, so they've already gone out, and they're going to be due on, the 1st of October.
Yes.
So, you know, a lot of people tend to vote a little early as soon as the ballots come sometimes, but you do have a month to put in your ballot.
And we encourage you to vote. Out of the 6,100 in our community, we got about 2,700 votes last month.
Wow.
And the 3 top vote getters were terrific. They came in close to each other. And then there was a 200 vote drop. 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th place were separated by 35 votes.
Wow. Yeah.
I was number 4 by 17 votes.
Yeah.
And 5 and 6 were only separated by 5 votes.
Amazing.
So your vote counts. You
Right.
may determine the outcome of the election.
So be sure and vote. If you're a member of Third Laguna Hills Mutual, be sure and be a part of this process. Again, they are going to have their annual meeting. That's going to be on October 4th in Clubhouse 5. We will broadcast that live to you here on Channel 6, so you can also stay at home and watch the meeting. But be sure and be a part of this process. And if you have not already sent in your ballot, you have another couple of weeks yet to send that ballot in. Well, we want to thank you for your time of service here for Third Laguna Hills Mutual and being on Channel 6 as well.
Thank you, Paul. It's always a pleasure.
Good to see you. Well, that'll do it for Third Laguna Hills Mutual's report for this month. Be sure and check them out here on Channel 6. They're going to be at September 20th. That's going to be at 2 o'clock. And then on the 26th, we'll repeat once again at 6 o'clock in the evening. And it does run a little less than 3 hours long. We'll be back with more of the Channel 6 News Hour right after this.